All right, we're going to tee it up. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to Survive to Thrive. Tuesdays and Thursdays are training days, so grab some pen and paper, get ready to take some notes. Today, we're going to talk about short sales, and I've got a lot of content. At least I think I do. Every time I say that, I finish in about 15 minutes, so we'll see. And take notes as fast as you can. And remember, these are all recorded. It will be on my YouTube channel before the day is over. By the way, if you haven't already followed me on YouTube, subscribe, please do. And let's get started. So, first of all, definition. And excuse me, guys, as I'm multitasking, but we still have people in the waiting room. So here we go. A short sale is simply selling the property for less money than the homeowner owes, um, and the bank approving the terms of the short sale. Simple. Now, I've got 5 key points for you today. So I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to share those 5 key points, and then we're going to go through them one by one. So number one is the initial assessment. Write it down. Number two, gather the short sale package. Three, timelines and expectations. Four, agent best practices. And five, short sale submission checklist. By the way, I have the checklist in a PDF, so if somebody will remind me, I'll put that in the chat before we finish up today. All right, so let's talk about the initial assessment. And again, if you see me pause, it's because I'm letting people in. All right. All right, so initial assessment, verify all liens, primary mortgage, second mortgage, HELOC, home equity, line of credit, um, tax liens, and HOA liens. Big part of this. So make sure you don't ignore tax liens and HOA liens. Everybody has to sign off on this. If a homeowner is going to sell a property as a short sale, if they're behind on their HOA payments, I could go totally sideways on this, Michael Chilongo squirrel, and have a big conversation with you about the danger of a homeowner being behind on their HOA payments and the HOA taking over the ownership of that property and stopping the homeowner from being able to do a short sale. So it's a big deal. All right. So verify all links. Estimate current market value. Do a CMA or a broker price opinion. Uh, Keep in mind that the homeowner still owns the property, even though it's a short sale. And the homeowner has to sign off on this. They have to agree to sell their property as a short sale. And at the same time, you want to price the property such that the bank would approve the short sale or come back with a reasonable counteroffer. Now, my strategy was always to price the property slightly below market value because I just want to get an offer. And I want to get an offer and submit it to the bank. Now, I'm not going to be ridiculous about this, but I want to get close. But selling the property for the most amount of money possible is not the goal. The goal is to get the property sold, have the bank approve it, and ultimately have the bank approve it without any additional money coming from the homeowner. All right, moving on. Discuss alternatives with the homeowner. So make sure that your client knows that there are other options besides a short sale. Matter of fact, most of the time, they don't even know about a short sale until you make them aware of it. But they could do a deed in lieu of foreclosure. They could also allow the property to go into foreclosure, which is the worst idea. Um, and they could also make a request to redo the mortgage as well. So let me just read it to you. I'm sorry. Loan modification, that's the word I was looking for. Deed in lieu of foreclosure, bankruptcy, or foreclosure. Okay, number five, or the last point on this is confirm seller commitment. Seller has to be committed to this because it's going to take a lot of work on their part. They have to fill out a lot of forms. They have to provide the bank with a lot of information they're probably not going to want to provide. So they got to sign off on this and be committed to this in order to be able to sell their property successfully as a short sale. All right, so that was the first major point, initial assessment. Number two, gather the short sale package. I'm just going to go through the list with you really quick. So I don't like to read to you, but I'm going to. Hardship letter, signed authorization, allowing the broker agent to negotiate with the lender. I'm going to go through this a little bit slower so you can write this down. Most recent mortgage statements and payoff statements if available. 2 years of federal tax returns. Recent pay stubs, 30 to 90 days, or proof of income. 2 or 3 months of bank statements. Profit and loss statement, if the seller is self-employed, they need to be able to have a profit and loss statement, or for the bank to consider the short sale. Copy of listing agreement, your comparative market analysis or your BPO has to be included with the package that goes to the bank. Signed purchase contract, HOA estoppel, copy of driver's license, social security numbers, any divorce decree, bankruptcy, or blah, blah, blah. All right, moving on. Third major point, timelines and expectations. Collection of short sale package, 1 to 2 weeks. Do not submit anything to the bank without this complete. The collection of the short sale package, the bank is just going to let it sit there and it's going to go to the bottom of the pile and they're not going to even look at it until you've completed this package. So super important. Lender review, 30 to 90 days. Now, that's going to depend on how many short sales they're processing at the time. If I go back and talk about what the market looked like between 2008 and 2010, 30 to 90 days would be super fast. However, in today's market, that's probably on track, about 30 to 90 days for lender review. Total process from listing to close can be 2 to 6 months. Really important that everybody knows that, including the buyer, buyer's agent, and everybody. Remember that you're going to be dealing with real estate agents who have never done a short sale. So part of your job is going to be to educate the other real estate agent. Make sure they know this is going to take 2 to 6 months. 2 months, probably unheard of. 6 months, more normal. All right. Number four, agent best practices. Uh, Complete and clean submissions. Incomplete packages gets delayed or denied. So think about it like this. You've got the the individual who's processing the short sale on behalf of the bank, and they've got a stack of files that are sitting on their desk. Now, in today's world, it's not paper files, it's digital files, but there's still a stack. And if your short sale comes to the top of the stack and it's missing documents, it goes right to the bottom and you have to start over again. So it's super important when you do this that you're providing the bank with a complete and clean submissions. Number two, provide a strong CMA or BPO showing why the offer is market reasonable. So that kind of goes back to what I was talking about a little bit earlier. You want to get as close to market value as you can, understanding that the goal is to get an offer on this property as quick as possible. Now, part of what you're going to be dealing with is the market shift is causing values to go down, which is causing people to be upside down on their mortgage. And it's also causing, creating a more competitive market where it's difficult to sell the property. So if you're looking at a market that has 4, 5, 6, 7 months of inventory and you're pricing this property, you've got to price it below market value in order to get an offer. Now, that means that you're going to have a property, let's say that you put on the market at 450, market values maybe 465 to 470. You get an offer for 440, you submit it to the bank, right? And is it close enough? The bank's going to determine that based on a lot of factors. One of those factors being in what direction is the market going? In other words, 440 could be $20,000 below current market value, but what is the market value of that property going to be in 90 days? What is the value of that property going to be in 6 months? Remember, the bank knows this as they're processing this, so they realize that if the seller is not successful at selling this property as a short sale, eventually it's going to be foreclosed on, which means the bank is going to have ownership of this property. And now the bank has to sell the property. In the meantime, how much has the value come down? And I know that there's a lot of experts on here like Joe Grant when it comes to bank-owned properties. So, fact check me, that's fine. I'm really good at that, okay? And I'm 100% okay with being wrong. I just want to give you guys the basics and the strategy in order to sell these properties successfully. All right, number three, document hardship truthfully and provide evidence. Medical bills, termination notice, pay stubs. The seller has to be able to prove that they're in hardship. They can't just say, hey, I'm in hardship. I want to short sell my property. They have to be able to prove to the bank why they're in hardship. They have to be able to provide proof of that. All right, next point. Keep communication professional and persistent. Call the loss mitigation department, ask for timelines, and escalate politely if needed. All right, so I'm going to go back to something I've said to you guys before. I don't want you guys calling the loss mitigation department. That is not a 20% activity for you. You are going to sit on hold for a long time waiting to talk to somebody. That is time, thank you, Joe. That is time that you can better spend finding the next deal. I want you to find a title company that will provide you with someone who is going to be responsible for all of your short sales, who is going to handle this part of the sale for you. Now, the benefit to the title company is they get the closing. And they should be providing this service to you for no additional charge because the benefit to the title company is they get the closing. Critically important here, guys. I could just stop on that and say, okay, here's the most important thing you guys need to get. This is it. If you don't get anything else from what I talked to you about this morning, get that. All right. Maintain buyer transparency. Buyers must understand the subject to lender approval risk. Not every short sale is going to be approved. If you're representing a buyer and you make an offer on a property, there is a possibility it's going to get denied. There is a possibility you're going to wait 4 to 6 months to go to closing only to hear that the short sale's been denied. And if you've got the buyer, guess what? You get to start over again. All right. Use experienced closing title companies. Already talked about that. Moving on. Get everything in writing from lenders, especially approval and any deficiency waivers. Everybody write that down, deficiency waivers. So this is what you're looking for. You want a short sale approval with a deficiency waiver, which means the bank is going to accept the terms of the short sale without going after the seller for any additional money. The bank is waiving any additional deficiencies. Make sure that you get that. It's not automatic. And if you don't get it, then the buyer could or the seller could still be responsible for any of those deficiencies. All right, moving on. Number five, short sale submission checklists. All right, again, I'm going to slow down and go through this with you line by line because I want you to write down every single one of these. This is your checklist. Sign listing agreement. A seller cannot sell a property unless the property is being represented by a real estate agent. They are going to list their property with a real estate agent. By the way, there's no commission discussions because the bank pays the commission. You have to have a signed listing agreement. Number two, completed hardship letter. Now, in the PDF that I'll share with you all, there is a sample hardship letter. But in today's world of artificial intelligence, oh my gosh, Jacqueline, I wish we had this back in 2008, 9, and 10. Just go to Chat GPT and say, write an example of a short sale hardship letter for me. Done. All right. Signed authorization to speak with the lender. Um, You need the borrower's signature on that. 2 years of tax returns, most recent pay stubs, or proof of funds, 2 to 3 months of bank statements, recent mortgage statements, and loan numbers, HOA estoppel if applicable, CMA BPO comparables, comps, signed purchase contract with buyer proof of funds or pre-approval, title report or recent title commitment if available, photo ID for sellers, any bankruptcy or divorce documentation. All right, last few minutes, I'm going to talk strategy with you all. When you look at lead generation and you look at the buckets of opportunity for finding motivated sellers, and we're talking sellers here, okay? And you look at the bucket of opportunity for finding motivated sellers, you have prospecting, marketing, repeat, and referral business. Short sales fall in the prospecting bucket. Now, what I would do is I would go and I would do a search for anybody who has a lien on their property for being behind on their mortgage payments. I would call those individuals. Now, the conversation is simply, hey, Joe, John Dietz, local real estate expert. I specialize in helping homeowners avoid foreclosure. If you know of anybody who's behind on their payments, I can help them avoid foreclosure. Simple conversation, right? Now, what's the goal here, guys? You're giving the seller the opportunity to admit they're behind on their payments without calling them and saying, hey, dude, I was looking at tax records. I see that there's a Liz pendants filed on your property. I see that you're behind on your mortgage payments and I can help you. It's a much better approach to Michael John Dietz, local real estate expert. I specialize in helping homeowners avoid foreclosure. If you know of anybody who's behind on their payments, I can help them. Now, when that seller responds, I'm behind on my payments, my response is, okay, got it. Now, are you aware of all the options that you have? They're going to say no. All right. Your response to that is, beginning, you want to end with short sale. Begin with, you can allow the property to go in foreclosure. The benefit to that is you will stay on the property longer. Um, During that time, you're probably not making mortgage payments and you're not out until the bank kicks you out. The downside to that is that it's going to have the greatest negative effect of all the options on your credit report, and you're going to be responsible for the entire mortgage. You will get sued by the bank, including attorney fees, late fees, penalties, and court costs. You could also do a deed in lieu of foreclosure. It's a step up from just doing a foreclosure. It's basically you're turning the keys back into the bank. You're out of the property quicker. The bank doesn't have to go through the cost and time of moving you from the property, evicting you, closing the door, so on. But it is also going to have a negative effect on your credit report. And then the last option is you could do a short sale. Are you familiar with how the short sale works? They're going to say no. Your response to that is, let's to get together and talk about your options. I'm available tomorrow at 4. Would 5 be better for you? All right, raise your hands, talk to me. Go, Joe. I knew your hand was going to be up, buddy.
All right. So one of the most important things to make sure that you have inside any purchase agreement that comes with the offer is the phrase or something close to non-pursuit of deficiency. That's the clause that makes it where we're accepting a buyer's contract as long as the bank is not going to go after any missing money. So if it's $100,000 below what they owe on it, the bank's going to write it off. They'll send them a 1099. They'll have to pay taxes on that as a gift money, but it makes it where they don't have to get that debt put onto them in collection.
Right.
Another big piece is a TPA. It's known as a third party authorization form. If you, there will be times that unfortunately you're going to have to call the lender, put it on speaker because you'll be on the phone for about an hour or two. or get your assistant to. But that third-party authorization form, there's a generic one for distressed property experts, but most banks have their own and they prefer their own. When that's done, make sure you're on it. The people that are working titles on it. If you're going, I prefer going through a real estate attorney on these. Make sure that the negotiator you bring in is on it. All my short sales are handled by Advanced Short Sale Services. I don't take the time to do it myself. I let Ken Bailey do it, and he spends that time on the phone and email. But those are big pieces that you can't miss out on, because if you call the bank or the title calls the bank, anybody calls and they don't have that document on file, the bank won't talk to them.
Priceless. Thank you, Joe. Let's go, Sean.
Quick question. I'm actually in the middle of a short sale. We don't have it under contract. We're about to drop the price. I wasn't on the phone. I have another agent that's done a bunch of them. He was on the phone with the bank and the client. He's on the listing agreement, and forgot his name, but the bank basically gave him a verbal that they would cover the cost of the difference, whatever it is, and they had agreed to the short sale. But we didn't get a written document saying they would. So we're not, while they're saying they will short sale, we still need a written document.
Everything
Does
has
that
to,
make sense?
everything has to be in writing. Did that answer your question?
It did, yes. Because
Okay.
he was just like, no, they said they would do it. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. Taking him at his word, he's done a bunch of these. Maybe it was different back in 2008 to 2011.
The information I'm sharing with you is information that I researched and pulled in the last 2 days. So this is updated information that I'm sharing with you. Let's go, Kyle.
Okay, real quick, maybe just clarify for me. If I'm representing a buyer right now, we're looking at a short sale opportunity. Um, ha if somebody's advertising a short sale, have they already had this approved from a lender, or are they just clarify for me the process? Are we just saying on a listing side, we can list the property, it's just a short sale, and then we're going to go get approval from the lender once we have an offer in hand?
Yeah, there's no bank approval until there's a contract on the
Okay.
property. However, the bank does know um, they've been given permission, for lack of better words, to sell their property as a short sale from the bank. Go ahead, Joe. I know you do a better job of explaining that than me.
All right, Kyle. So that it really depends. So on the first contract, the answer is no. The bank has just authorized the short sale, or we've asked for it and we have time. Now, if I get an offer on a property, I don't care if that offers 50,000, 60,000, 100,000 below. If we're up against a foreclosure deadline, we're going to submit that thing, because the only other way to stop the foreclosure is to file a bankruptcy.
Yeah.
But once that comes back, the bank's going to come back. If they approve it, they're going to say, hey, we did an appraisal. We're only going to go this deviation off. So if the house is for 400,000, your offer was for 300,000, the bank will come back with a letter rejecting that offer and coming back saying, either come back with your highest and best, or we'll authorize it at 475 under these terms and conditions. If the buyer walks away, you now have an approved price of 475 in those terms and conditions. So you can go back and remarket it at 475, bank approved.
Okay. On the buy side, do you guys have any tips? Do we just like obviously it's being advertised below market value, so there's some incentive there, and there's a longer timeline to navigate. But is that a steer clear, or if it's an opportunity and it works for everybody, give it a shot? What do y'all think?
It depends on your buyer. So loans, like a conventional loan, the house has to be habitable. If they have an FHA or a VA loan, there's criteria the house has to hit. The 9 times out of 10, they're not going to do any repairs, because those repairs have to be approved by the bank. So you need to go in with somebody with cash or conventional. The house has to hit those situations, and you can be as aggressive as you want, because at the end of the day, it's the bank that's going to say no more than the seller.
Okay, so we've got three more hands up and we're over time here, so I need to go boom, boom, boom and get this done. Sorry, guys. We can bring this conversation back, and we will. And Joe, Maybe we need to put together a panel for the next conversation. Joe, you'll be on that panel for sure. Let's go, Megan.
Commission question. Doing 3 listings right now, and these are a lot of work. Is the bank going to allow a 7% commission? Do they say anything? How much pushback am I going to get? Wet signatures on everything or just the TPA? And I'm also increasing earnest money because we're looking at 40% cancellation rates right now. But commission, thoughts?
So my experience is the bank is not going to allow a commission that's higher than what's normally being paid at this time. If 7% is an amount that the bank feels is above what's normal for the industry at this point, they won't approve it. I don't know if everybody here has had a different opinion, experience on that, but we ran about 70 short sales back in the day, and they were all 6% at the time. I feel like we definitely need to bring this back and we need to have a panel because you have great questions, Megan, and I want responses from other people other than me on this. Super quick, Joe Grant, wet signatures or digital? Is there
On the third-party authorization, wet signature on the sales contract, listing contract, all that stuff, electric's fine.
what was your third question, Megan?
It was more of a comment.
Oh.
Negotiating
Right.
higher earnest monies,
Any
seeing that
challenge?
we're at 40% cancellation rate this year.
Any challenges with that, Joe?
No, I've never seen a rejection on that. I've seen a kickback on they strike out all admin and transaction fees. You put it in, they're going to strike it out. They're not paying it. I've seen them they knock both sides of it down. So we used to have a form that was I think it was called a short com is what it was called, but it was an extra commission form that said basically if the bank comes back with negotiated professional fees, the fees are to be split, and I always put mine at 60-40 because on the list side you do more work than the buy side. So if they came back and said we'll approve 5%, it's going to be 2.5 each side unless you wrote it up that way, and then it'll be different. But if they come back at 7, that would be 7 total for both parties, not just you.
Got it.
Okay, cool. Thanks,
Hey,
Joe.
to anybody who's responding in the chat in reference to not being able to download the document that I put in there, I'm going to take all the notes from this morning and I'm going to put them in the YouTube video. So if you want a copy of this, all you got to do is go to my YouTube channel and then copy and paste. Everything will be in there, including the checklist. All right, let's go. Let's go, Mueller.
Thank you, John. So my understanding is we can start the process and finish it without a lawyer. In what situation do you think we need their help?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So such a good question. So first of all, never use those words. Uh, Anytime the conversation comes up about should I hire an attorney, the answer is always yes. I would never tell somebody that you don't need an attorney. That's going to end up coming back to you. Do they need an attorney to do a short sale? No, they don't. If they feel that they should speak to an attorney, then they should. Okay, Sunita, talk to me.
Oh, yes, John, can you hear me?
I'm clear.
Good. I have a quick question. So all these liens and debts which are forgiven, is there any tax implication for the seller?
Joe.
I couldn't quite hear. She was breaking up. I just got something about liens and check to the
Yeah,
seller.
so all the liens and debts which are forgiven for the seller, is there any tax implication? Do they have to pay taxes because it's an income for them?
Yes and no. So income to the seller off of this, a good short sale negotiator can negotiate them a moving stipend upon move out. The amounts depend on state area, how far they are behind. But when it comes to that, if we sell your house for $100,000 less than you owe the bank is going to send you a 1099. I can't remember which one it is. I think it's a 1099 miss. that says, hey, we forgave $100,000. So you're going to have a taxable liability of that. But wouldn't you rather pay 15% of $100,000, or would you rather have to pay $100,000?
Oh, true. No, no, I'm just confirming.
He's
Absolutely.
just, no, he's giving you a script.
But that's the way to convey it to somebody who has a problem with the tax implication is I can understand that perfectly. And me personally, I wouldn't want to have to owe any money. However, if the sale of your house goes through and it's $100,000 less than you owe, what would you rather be liable for? The $100,000 less that it sold for that's going to collections after you, or the tax bracket that you fall into, which can be as low as 10, 15% of the money that the bank forgave.
Yes, great point. Thank you.
Priceless. Raise your hand if you'd like for us to bring this back as bring this back another day with a panel. Okay, got a lot of hands in the air. Consider it done. Guys, thank you for hanging in there with me. Sorry for going over time today. Hope you got great value. Please watch the video later. Remember to download the notes. And as always, make it a great day. See everybody at 9 a.m. Go get them.
A good day, everyone.
Thank you, Arvin.